Something big may be happening in Washington, and most Americans have barely heard about it. Lawmakers are discussing new national security legislation that critics are calling Patriot Act 2.0. Now that phrase alone should make people pause, because the original USA PATRIOT Act, passed after the September 11th attacks, dramatically expanded government surveillance powers in the name of national security. Many civil liberties groups later argued it allowed the government to collect large amounts of information on ordinary Americans while reducing oversight. Today, a new generation of laws and proposals, like the Restrict Act and other cybersecurity bills, are being described by critics as the next evolution of those powers. So what do these proposals actually talk about? Let's break it down. First, propaganda and influence campaigns. Some of these bills were written with the goal of stopping foreign governments from using social media platforms to influence Americans, gather data, or spread propaganda online. The concern is that foreign adversaries could manipulate information ecosystems, shaping public opinion, interfering in elections, or amplifying social division. To address that threat, lawmakers want the government to have authority to investigate, restrict, or even ban technology companies tied to those foreign adversaries. Supporters say this is necessary to protect democracy, but critics worry about where the line gets drawn. Second, censorship and control of digital platforms. Some versions of these proposals allow the government to block or restrict certain apps, websites, or communications technologies if they are seen as security threats. The stated purpose is to stop surveillance or influence operations by hostile states. But civil liberties advocates warn the wording of these laws could be broad enough to cover many types of digital communication. Some analysts argue that, depending on how enforcement is interpreted, people could even face penalties for bypassing restrictions through tools like VPNs to access banned services. That's where the debate becomes intense. Because once governments gain the authority to control digital infrastructure, the potential exists, at least in theory, for those tools to be used in ways that affect free speech. Third, cybersecurity and the cyber plan. Many lawmakers believe the internet has become a battlefield. Cyber attacks could potentially disrupt financial systems, infrastructure, communications networks, or elections. Previous legislation, such as the Protecting Cyberspace as a National Asset Act, aimed to strengthen national defenses against cyber attacks and coordinate responses to digital threats. The idea behind newer proposals is similar: build stronger cyber defenses before adversaries exploit weaknesses. In other words, the government wants the ability to act fast when technology becomes a national security risk. So will these laws help or hurt ordinary people? The answer depends on who you ask. Supporters say they will protect Americans from foreign manipulation, espionage, and cyber warfare. They argue the digital world has changed, and governments must adapt. But critics fear that expanding surveillance and control over communications could slowly erode privacy and freedom. They worry that once those powers exist, future administrations might use them in ways that go beyond the original intent. And that's why the debate is so heated. Because once governments unveil powerful surveillance or censorship tools, it can be very difficult to roll them back. History shows that emergency powers often remain long after the emergency ends. And if those powers are ever misused, they could embarrass the very institutions that claim to be protecting democracy. So the real question isn't just whether these laws stop foreign propaganda. The real question is this: can a nation defend itself in the digital age without sacrificing the freedoms it was built to protect? That conversation is just beginning.